This is a Hot Pie Media original.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Amy Edwards Show. I'm your host, Amy Edwards. Are you ready to transform some shit? Me too. That's what we're here for. We're here to use our voices to get stronger and to transform our lives in the most efficient way possible, if possible, when possible, right? So thank you so much for being here. I am thrilled that you are, and I am thrilled to be here. I mean, really, like sitting down here, I can feel kind of listless before it, and then I sit down and start doing this, and it just brings me energy, makes me feel alive. So I'm so stoked to be here. If you can rate and review the show, that means the world to me. So grateful. So thank you for those that have shown up and have done that. I'm just so appreciative. So, I'm ready to do the episode today. We're doing a solo cast today, and I'm going to follow up on some things that we've been talking about. So I'm stoked about that. So let's get to today's episode. Thank you for being here. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Well, what about therapy? I'm doing it. You can too. I even have a discount code for you at the end. BetterHelp is there to assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. And I have one too. I like mine a lot. Her name is Lacey, and it's been great. We meet video chat once a week. It is so easy to schedule, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. It is professional therapy. It's all done securely online, and there's a big range of expertise, which might not be locally available for you. I mean, they have everything. It's really nice. It's really nice. It's available worldwide, and you can log in anytime and send a message to your therapist. I am really enjoying it. I am so excited that I've gotten to try it out, and that it's come right now in my life when I really have felt like I could use it. And so they are committed to therapeutic matches. And so if you don't connect with your therapist for some reason, they don't care. They're like, that's cool. Let's find you someone who does feel like a match. And so it's very easy to switch. They also are more affordable than traditional offline therapy, and financial aid is available if you need it. Very cool, because they are committed to you living a happier life today. You can read testimonials on their website, and you just heard mine. I'm really enjoying it. And there is a special offer for listeners of the Amy Edwards Show. You can get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/AES for the Amy Edwards Show. Again, that's 10% off at betterhelp.com/AES. Hello, and welcome to the show. You know, when I started this show, I was like, I'm going to be more intentional all the time. And I've kind of dropped the ball on that just a little bit. So I am tapping back in. So let's just take a second to like arrive in this moment and to be here in this space, right? I'm lighting something. I'm lighting this Palo Santo pyramid that I've got that I don't understand how to use. It just burns and burns. I nearly burned down my house with one of these not too long ago. But it just cues me. The smell is so nice. It cues me to just be here and be present. And you know, talked a lot on the episode with Angie 2 weeks back about self-trust. And I have to just lean into my own self-trust that I am going to know the right thing to say as we're here, because I feel like my life and what I need to cover is just a little messy and complicated. Life's not always neat. And obviously, who is it neat for? I don't know. Marie Kondo. But it's just not. It's not neat. Our emotions are not nice and neat. I've been talking a lot about anger and self-trust. So let's just arrive in this moment and take a deep breath and talk about transforming our emotions. The point of today is to be able to be a conscious creator and really tune into what we are creating. A friend of mine who has been through it in her marriage and has done a lot of work. I reached out to her as I had all this stuff going on, Justin going to rehab, and my life just feeling messy and my emotions running super hot. anger in particular. And she said that she has learned that trauma and anger must be transformed or they will be transmitted in the way of bitterness, rage. We take it out on other people. It eats away at us, maybe even as a physical ailment. And so I was thinking, how in the world do I transform this anger? Because, trauma too, I feel like there's a level of trauma in it for me, with what's gone on with his relapse, with all the lying. And that's been very difficult because I leaned out of my own self-trust and into trusting someone else. And that's the way it went. So I am faced with a lot of intense emotions. Here they are. We're human. We're not all love and light all the time because we wouldn't even know what love and light was. We didn't have all the other stuff. So this is part of the process of knowing. So stick around to the end or the end of this part, because I am going to talk about some extreme self-care measures that I took in just actions and practices and habits that I took as soon as he left, because I felt like, stick around for those will be coming in a few minutes. But as soon as he left, I felt like I could exhale. I had been in this state of anger and exhaustion and holding it together. You know what that feels like when you just feel like you're holding it together to get through it. That's what I felt like I had been doing for, I don't even know, a good solid month and a half, I think, when we recorded that last episode and sat right here at this table and talked about, my own anger. We talked about how we were communicating, things like that. So where should I start here? So that night, we sat here and talked about how we were handling communication, things like that. And that night, it fell on me to take him to rehab. And I was fucking pissed about that. I didn't feel like that was my responsibility. He had planned on someone else doing it, and it fell on me again. And I was just felt like I was taking care of everything. And I was so over it. But I was like, I will do it. And he was like, no, I'll take an Uber. I was like, you're not taking a fucking Uber to rehab because you won't go. I had zero confidence that he would go. Thought he'd go hole up in a hotel room and use. And I'm probably right. And so I was like, no, I'll do it. Kind of martyr syndrome. No, I'll do it. I'll just do it. And as I'm realizing that I have to do that, I started to suspect that there was other things that he was hiding from me and has been for a long time. And I exploded with rage. And right before we're taking him, and we had the gnarliest fight. And it wasn't when I say that, it wasn't like name calling and stuff. It was just so much emotion and anger. And I was just fucking enraged because I knew in my gut that there was a lot more to the story that I didn't know. And I was just so over it. Anyway, long story short, and a parking lot fight and all, he was trying to take a lift and take his stuff out of the car. I locked the car doors. It was super dramatic. And got him there, got back home. And sure enough, I started to find out some things. I started to look through some things and find out some things that I didn't know. And that was really hard. And my anger was through the roof. And I didn't want to air that episode. I almost pulled it because I was like, fuck that. Fuck all this. And, you have all these emotions. I've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks, the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It's been going on a while. So you have all these intense emotions and you're like, what do I do with them? And so I was flailing around a little bit, sending an email, just hold off. Luckily, I just said, just hold off on the episode. Just hold off, which I did come around and end up airing it, obviously. But I felt like I was dishonest in the moment in that episode with him. I was sitting here listening to him talk and I was angry. I was pissed. And I was like stifling it. That doesn't feel good. I was playing the good girl. I was letting my boundaries get crossed. I was accommodating someone else when this is my show and I knew what I wanted and it was messy again. I was worried about it all. I was worried about offending him, offending who? Worried about doing it wrong? I don't know. Anyway, so this is ironic, right? Because we were sitting here talking about our communication, healthy communication. And here I am not even really doing it because there are healthy ways to say it. And I wasn't even choosing an unhealthy way to say it. It was just growing inside me. So anyway, here I am, like still figuring out this self-trust piece. And part of my anger was that even with the stuff I didn't know, I kind of knew. If I'm really being honest, I was like, I kind of fucking knew. And so this really all launched into this blow up and this action and this, avalanche of emotions for me with the episode with Angie Heil. If you haven't listened to that episode, it is so incredibly good. But we talked about self-trust and I committed on this show, staring at this very camera and talking into this very mic, to really trust myself above all else. And that was the turning point, which I find very interesting. So I'm working still to lean into that, but I've had to deal with this anger because it has just been there moving around in my body. And it'll have times. So if you're experiencing anger you will likely have a time in your life when you do. I sat with it. I just sat and allowed it and let it sit there and I felt it. And that is not easy. And I also journaled. I did a lot of writing. I would wake up in the morning thinking all the things that I wanted to say and write them down. But I still realized that I was leaving things unsaid. I was still dishonoring my own boundaries to a certain extent too. I mean, looking back at all this, I brushed aside my own boundaries like they were sand, just, through our whole relationship too, I've done that. I'm not sure I even know what my relationship boundaries are. So I'm really glad I have this time because I'm trying to figure that out. I know that a lot of times I'll operate from a standpoint of wanting to make the other person happy a lot, wanting to accommodate that person, even at my own expense. That's really the ticket right there to figuring out your boundaries. It's like, when is it at your own expense? When does it not feel like it's your choice? That's what you want to be doing, right? Sometimes they aren't asking that much. And so you're just like, well, okay. But you don't want to. You don't want to. Or something's not sitting right. And yet we just brush it aside. Does this resonate? Do you do this? My guess is yeah. Or you know what? Maybe you're super strong and you don't. But even if you don't, I think I'm going to venture to say that boundaries are a practice like everything else. They're not, there's a little bit of flow with them and a little bit of that learning that it is a practice of enforcing them. And the times that we don't, we can recognize, we can step into that awareness and be like, oh yeah, okay. I recognize that and I'm going to rectify it. So back to anger. Let's get back to anger for a second. There are two things that I have noticed that we can do with that anger. So you can sit with it, yes, but we can use it to figure out what we have not said. Like in that episode, what did I not say? What was unsaid? And I have a lot of unsaid shit. And I can't say it to him because he's at rehab. So I could say it to a friend, I guess. But let's talk about that in a minute. If you're saying it to a friend, can you get it all out just on paper? So I wrote a letter to him that said everything. And I mean everything. Everything I was thinking, everything that I went through to figure this out, figure out at least what I figured out. I went back months and months to little things that I noticed that have angered me, that have sat inside me. I wrote them all down. And it wasn't a nice letter. It wasn't. I ended it kind of nice because I came from my heart a little bit, but I didn't send the letter. In fact, as I was writing it, I thought I might, but then I just folded it up and let it sit. You don't have to send the letter to the person, but because sometimes just getting it out makes all the difference. I noticed that too as I was journaling over the course of these days. I would write down all the things. Oh, I'm going to say this. I'm fucking pissed. I'm going to say this. This is what I need to say. Boom, boom, boom. And then after I wrote it all down, I was like, I kind of feel like I don't need to say it now. And then I'd be like, but I do need to say this. And then I'd write it down. I need to say that. And then I was like, I don't really feel like I need to say that either now. Interesting. And then I was like, okay, so I'm going to talk to him on Wednesday because we finally had a phone call for like 15 minutes on, it had been like 10 days into this or something. And so I was like, oh, here's how it could go. It could go this way or this way or this way. All right. So what am I going to do in this instance? What am I going to do in this instance? And what am I going to do in this instance? And I tell my friend that. I said, well, here's how it could go, blah, blah, blah. And she says, oh, you're speculating. And I said, well, I guess so. I mean, figuring out the outcomes. And she was like, when we speculate, we're trying to prepare. And when we prepare, we're trying to exert control over the situation. I was like, oh, fuck, that hits. All right. How do I really, if I'm really going to detach from outcome, how do I do that? I can't be preparing. And you know what that comes back around to? Yes, self-trust. It comes back around to like, I am going to know what to do in the moment. I trust myself. I trust myself to know what to do. I trust myself to pause for a minute, tap into it, and know what I'm going to do. It's pretty cool, isn't it? If we can actually do it, that's the trick, right? It's a muscle. It gets stronger as we practice it, which is the good news. Okay. Second, I'm reading a book called Unbound, and it is all about power dynamics and how to get what you want and dominance and submission. And it is fascinating. It's written by this woman who was a dominatrix, and then she was studying to be a Taoist nun. And so she's smart, really smart, and it's fascinating about power dynamics. Highly recommended it. I highly recommend it. And she talked a lot about anger in particular and how we can learn from it. And I thought this is applicable to pretty much any strong emotion, right? So when it comes up, we can also pause and step into our awareness and recognize first that we are just experiencing the emotion, right? I'm going through a lot of anger. I'm not fully angry. I am not anger, right? We are human. We experience these things. So you can look at it and say, what is this emotion asking of me? What is it showing me? What can I gain more clarity about? And for me, that's not only my boundaries, but it is showing me the reason I'm so angry is because of what I really want in a relationship. And I was not getting it. Number one priority for me is honesty, and I was not getting it. And so, I mean, how can you with an addict, right? It's not going to happen. And so, unless they're in recovery. And so, and I thought he was, I think, when I went into this, but maybe I was kidding myself. So it's really helped me get very clear on what I want. And I've had to say, okay, I'm going to know if this is right or not. I'm going to know. I'm going to lean into my self-trust. But I've also had to just do a lot of writing around like, where can I find that clarity? Where can I really just say, okay, now I truly understand what are my deal breakers, what I'm looking for, and what I'm not willing to accept, which is really cool. Yeah. It made me understand that I must trust myself always. And I must pay attention to when I'm doing something at my own expense too, like we talked about earlier. So in that book, she talks about when we feel a lot of anger, we can feel really tired. And I think that's what I've kind of entered into now. I feel like I've been really exhausted. And so I'm just allowing myself the space for that. I allowed myself a quiet Thanksgiving, allowed myself some space to just rest and to be tired, and that's okay, and get sleep. And I'm still trying to work on all that self-care, but some days it's going to be a bit of a struggle, and that's okay. I just want you to cut yourself some slack when that happens. So I do want to get into my extreme self-care and the practices around that. And then I made a whole list of them that I want to share with you to see kind of what resonates with you. Like maybe there are things that you want to put back into your routine, and maybe you want to honor yourself in some way. So I do want to address those. But before we get to that, I also want to say one more thing. I was talking about earlier when we maybe talk to a friend, when we say all these things that we've left unsaid, perhaps to a friend, or even when we describe what we're going through to a friend. Sometimes our friends are very invested in our lives, and we can feel like we have to justify what we're saying. So I was telling Elizabeth, who is a longtime friend of mine. We've been friends since we were 12. And so I was telling her about it, and I felt kind of defensive. And I was like, why am I feeling this way? I felt like I had to justify my decisions and my actions to her. And I'm like, I'm a fucking adult. I don't have to justify my reasons to anyone. But I think when it's someone we're really close to, like a family member or a very close friend, it can feel like that. And I think what it made me pay attention to is that I don't want to make others feel like that. Like, where can we pay attention to those spaces in our life where maybe people are justifying something to us, and we can just allow them to walk their path without it affecting ours? Like, what's it to her, really? I mean, even if I'm going through something, it doesn't affect her. And yet, people, there's probably something not super healthy there in that relationship. I'm not sure what that is, but I'll be thinking about it. But I don't want people to have to feel like they justify their decisions to me, because everybody's walking their own path, right? And I don't want to feel like I have to justify my decisions. So I'm going to get very, very aware of that. And maybe she and I have a pattern, right? Maybe we have an old pattern of that, where I feel like I have to do that for some reason with her. So I just wanted to bring that to our attention, because where can you notice that in your own life if that comes up? Remember, we can allow others to walk their path and still walk ours, right? Without having to explain it, without having to justify it. Sometimes, though, there is help in explaining, just so we can sort ourselves out. Nothing wrong with that. All right, so let's talk about some extreme self-care. So I did this because I had to figure out how to get out of just dwelling in extreme emotions. Yes, I had my radio show, and I had this, and I had my things to do, my kids. So I did have other things going on, but I really needed space to process. And I didn't get it until my kids finally went to their dads for Thanksgiving, and I was able to take some days off and just sit with stuff. And so here are some of the things I did. Right away, I did like all of this basically. And so anyway, so here you go. Once I had a day off, this is kind of what I did. I woke up early, and let me say, when I went to bed, I have been taping my mouth. We talked about that not too long ago, right? Mouth taping. And so breathing out of my nose. I took all my supplements. I've been taking On It. That's one of Justin's sponsors. And so we have a ton of On It at the house. So I've been taking On It Total Human. I take the pack at night and the pack in the day. And so I took my supplements and I went to bed early. When I woke up, I journaled right away because I'm thinking stuff right when I wake up. Yes, I check my TikTok too. But anyway, that's not part of self-care. I made tea, not coffee. I cleansed my space with some Palo Santo. I drew a card. I like to draw a card every day. If you don't have that as a practice, it's really fun, actually. And it's amazing how prescient those cards can be. I did a little self-love in the mirror, right? Just take a minute to look in the mirror, say, I love you. I'm gonna write these down too, by the way, and attach them with this episode. So they will be on my website or my Instagram. So did a little self-love in the mirror, which I think is very important. If you're not doing the self-love practice, definitely incorporate that. Then I did some reading. I did some self-help, some betterment, some spirituality, a little bit of each. And I have been reading a book on addiction too, which is helping me. I sat and just petted my dog and my tortoise and just stared at my animals with no agenda. That's nice. Gratitude journal, write down 5 things that you're grateful for. I reached out to a friend who's going through a hard time, and I made a plan to bring her a book. I had ordered one for myself, so I ordered one for her too. And yeah, you know what? That was really nice. Really nice. It's really nice to give to someone else when you're going through some stuff. Or even when you're not going through some stuff. Give, right? Give. It's good. I also kept plans one day to meet another friend for tea, the one that said that about speculating. I was glad I did because it would have been really easy to cancel. Other practices. Pleasure practice with a yoni egg. Now, if you caught the Jade Bryce episode, she does it with a cervical wand and has a pleasure practice. So I see a lot about this and that you should do that every day. Tap into your body. Sometimes you're going to feel it, sometimes you're not. Absolutely no part of me wanted to do that. No part of me. I didn't want to do it, but I forced myself. I forced myself to do it every single day. And some days it goes better than others. I do try to speak my intention into whatever it is I'm using. I ordered that cervical wand that Jade had recommended. And obviously, if you're a man listening to this, your pleasure practice is going to be different. But it is about getting into your body, getting in touch with your body, just feeling that, not thinking about fantasies or porn, none of that. It's about really just feeling your body and feeling yourself. And as women, we can get really numb or out of touch with how we feel. And so it is about getting back in touch with that. Okay, back to it. We just lost power for a second around here, but we're back. Okay, so I was talking about the pleasure practice. So it's about tuning into your body and use whatever you want to use. Doesn't matter what, use your hand. And even when you don't want to, they say it is going to bring all sorts of other benefits, but getting out of your head and into your body seems like the number one for me anyway, right now. And it is a push to do it sometimes, but that's okay. Such as self-care sometimes. And it is good for you. All right. Hape and meditation. Yes, I've been meditating every day. I've been really leaning into my Hape practice. So if you are curious about Hape more, I do have a video up on my TikTok about it. So that's at The Magic Babe. And then I'll keep sharing about Hape. So, which is, it's a ground up tobacco that you blow up your nose, and it is a very grounding practice. And I like it with meditation. So I have been doing that and listening to sounds in headphones, just like running water, whatever it is, maybe a meditation. So really tapping into meditation, and just if my mind races, it races. I try to write it down, and I just try to keep going, even when your mind races. I've been doing not cold plunges, but deliberate cold exposure. So DCE, which I have had a conversation on the show with Adrienne Jezik about that exact thing. She's the founder of Morosco Forge Cold Plunges, which I do have one at my house, but I've just been doing it in the shower. Just like for a few minutes, not even a few minutes, for about a minute, I'll just turn it all the way to cold and just stand there under it. You can't think about it too much. So I've been doing that. I just say affirmations while I'm doing it. This morning when I did it, I just felt like I know that's what I needed to say. I spoke that into the cervical one today. I said it during the cold practice. Just whatever you need at that moment, whatever comes up for you, use that. Use it. Mine was like, I know. I'm just going to know. So, which is what I started the show with, isn't it? Like, I know what I'm going to know what to say. So yeah, did that. Once a week, I have been doing a like coffee and ashwagandha enema that I got from Third Eye Cacao Lounge. They sell those and they make them. And so I did that with a focus on gratitude. So I put it in, you leave it in for like 5 minutes. I set the timer and laid there on my bathroom floor. And I just said things I was grateful for. And I need to do that again like today. But I did. Yes, it's weird. And yes, it forces you outside of your comfort zone. But you know what? You do feel better afterwards. And I found gratitude for some crazy shit that I didn't see coming. I found gratitude for this whole experience. I found gratitude for my anger. I found gratitude for this all coming out. I found gratitude for this time with him away. And so anyway, just gratitude, just even in the hard stuff, right? Gratitude for sticking something up my butt and doing an enema, right? So then I also have made myself look nice almost every single day, like gotten up, done my hair, put my makeup on, tried to make an effort, because the days that I don't, that's when I can really feel my worst. So that helps. I've also been drinking a ton of water and no alcohol, 0 alcohol. That's helped. Eating a lot of protein. That helps a lot too. And being careful about that, going for walks, getting out in nature, and taking my supplements. I've been taking those Onnit supplements and just taking a whole bunch of other ones. I've never, ever been like super diligent about supplements. And so I was like, fine, I'm going to do that until the end of the year. I'm just going to see how I feel. And I do feel better. Taking baths. Andra talked about that. Andra Lemont in hers, she talked about the importance of taking baths. So I was like, fine, I'll give it a shot. I don't usually take baths. So I've been making time for baths, and it is a wonderful practice. I absolutely love it. So I've been doing that. I've listened to a fun podcast. I've binged a show on Netflix. I watched True Story. Totally recommend it. Binged a show that felt really good. It felt decadent. Felt like just something that I wanted to do, what I wanted to watch. I've played a game on my phone. I like Tetris. Anyway, yeah, I just let myself play that and waste a little time. So what? I got my hair done. If you're watching this, can you tell I got highlights? I got my hair done. And then, of course, and I didn't do all these every day, but they are all practices that are a part of extreme self-care when we're really going to do things not at our expense, but for us. We're going to give ourselves things. And this is what I've been giving myself. And then going to bed early, which is hard, especially when you have kids, because they stay up later than me now. And I've just had to go, okay, you guys are just going to stay up later than me. I have to go to bed. And so they do. And you know what? There's a biological reason for that. Kids actually are supposed to stay up a little later than their parents. It's part of them realizing their autonomy from their parents, which is super fascinating. That is in the book, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, which I cannot recommend highly enough. Okay. So we did it. The clock is wrong. I don't even know how long we were talking here. But we did it. That is my list of extreme self-care. I am going to put it out somewhere. Go look on my Instagram. It'll be there. When I post about the show, I'll have something about that for sure. And so I'm at Real Amy Edwards if you need to find me there. And yeah, just remember, I think you can continue to walk your path while others walk theirs. You can feel your feels. You can get more clarity from them. And that clarity is all yours. And that is such a beautiful thing. All right. Next week, we're going to be back with another guest. I've got some badass guests coming up too. Some great women. So I'm very excited. We're going to talk sex, and we're going to talk intuitiveness, and we're going to talk feeling better in 5 minutes, which I'm stoked about. So yeah, there will be a lot more great interviews coming your way. And thank you for listening today. I am super grateful, and I hope there were some things that spoke to your heart. If you want to share them with me, please do. You can always email me, amy@amyedwards.com. Okay. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for listening. Sharing here really It helps my soul. It means so much to me. And if you want to share with me, I want to hear what you have to say. If you have any questions, like I said, please reach out, amy@amyedwards.com. You can hit me on Instagram too. I try to check my messages there and requests there. And I'm easy to find and easy to reach out to. And leave a rating and review if anything in this spoke to your heart, or share it with a friend. Even if you know somebody going through a hard time, or maybe they're going through some anger, this could help them. I was so astonished as I was going through some anger, the episode with Andra, where we talked more about anger, came out, and I just listened to my own words in the beginning, and it helped me. I was like, man, sometimes we just need a little push when we're going through some stuff, just a little extra tactic, just a little extra something like, yeah, maybe that can help me. Maybe I do need to write. Maybe I do need to understand what's beneath this that I need to get clarity on. Because it's not just something so abstract like, oh, there's fear underneath that. No, it is specific. What is it? Oh, you're angry because you feel like you want respect in your relationship and you didn't get it. There we go. That's the real thing. So there's always something underneath those. So any strong emotion, we can use that to gain clarity in our lives instead of just dwelling and sitting in it. So also, I just want to say, we don't have to have all the answers right this minute, too. If you aren't sure where the clarity is, that's okay. It'll come. Give yourself some time. You don't have to know right this minute. I mean, I don't know the answer about my relationship right now. I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm just like, I don't have to know. I don't have to figure it out. I love figuring out, I love checking boxes. Don't have to. Don't have to. You can just take a breath, give yourself some space. Don't need to justify it to anybody. You can walk your path and others can walk theirs. And it's all A-OK. So feel free to write that down somewhere, because I think I will. I think I will as well. Big thanks to everybody here at Hot Pie Media. We are expanding the offices, and that's why our power went out today. And I'm excited about that. So just a little growing pain, which is exciting. Thank you, Alyssa, for rolling with it today, and all your assistants, and Colton, and just everyone here at Hot Pie. I'm excited to see the network grow and this show grow as well, which it is. And that makes me feel so good and so excited, because we're putting good stuff in the world and creating a good community and bettering ourselves in the process. I love you so much. Remember, sign up for my newsletter at amyedwards.com. Reach out to me there too, or you can reply to the newsletter too. I see those. I see all those. Find me on Instagram at Real Amy Edwards, or on TikTok at The Magic Babe. And I've been doing some lives on TikTok too in the evenings every now and then. And it's been so much fun, where I just do affirmations and just talk affirmations. And I love it. I love it. So, remember, there's always a new episode out every Thursday. Share it with a friend if you feel called. And I love you. We're here just to keep getting better, and try to remember that we can laugh too. Find a way to laugh, not take everything too seriously. Right? I know. What am I talking about? Don't, though. Seriously, it's just life. It's just life. It's just going to keep coming. So here's wishing you all the good stuff in life: health, wealth, abundance, peace, play, love, joy, hot sex, you name it. The good stuff. Wishing it to you and yours. Till next time.
Thank you so much for listening. If you liked this show, please rate and review. It totally matters. And I encourage you to spread the love too, and share this episode with a friend if you feel called.